Welcome to the Sales and Marketing Rebel Workshop. Woohoo! It's June 2023. So I am your host, Lisa Raebel. I am the founder, speaker, podcaster. I had to add that to my bio. Author and chief storyteller of Rebel Girl Marketing. So we do this the first Tuesday of every month from 11 to 12 Central Time. We're skipping July. Let me say that at the end too, because it's the 4th of July. We should all be out having fun and celebrating with friends and family next month. So before we get started, I would love to thank our sponsors, Bank59 and Quick Trip. I am a customer of both, and I highly recommend you do the same. So thank you to our sponsors. The reason that I call it the Rebel Workshop is because, first of all, I want you to think differently. Stop thinking like you've always thought. I want you to think differently about your marketing and your sales processes. And the workshop, because I would love you to have a pen and paper in front of you, because there's going to be a bunch of nuggets that I want you to implement immediately. And Cyrina is going to do a great job of that. So without further ado, let me introduce this month's guest, Cyrina Talbot. All right. So I'm going to give you a little bit off of her website, which I just loved the way she said this. So I'm just going to introduce it this way. So she says, helping small business owners thrive is my passion. Transformational coaching focuses on mindset, behavior change, and becoming confident in order to step into the next level. My techniques teach you how to get the subconscious on board, so you have 100% of your mind working with you and for you. This allows you to rapidly overcome self-doubt, sabotage, anxiety about the future, and move to that next level. Yes. Okay, very welcome, Cyrina.
Nice.
Welcome. So tell us a little bit more about yourself and why this topic is so important to you.
Yeah, and especially for business owners. I love working with business owners because I really think business is just an extension of us. Like, it's our purpose, right? For the most part, everybody that's doing a business, it's a calling, it's a passion. It's something that's like, I need to do this. I need to do this like before I die. And so to me, it's more than just the nuts and bolts of running a business. It's how do I get that out into the world? And most of the time, our mind is working against that because our mind wants to, and our subconscious wants to keep us safe, not rock the boat, not make waves, and make everybody happy. And business is the opposite. The business is getting seen, making waves, putting yourself out there, being in front of people. And so that's the work. And to me, you do the work so that you can do the thing you're supposed to do out in the world. So that's what I'm passionate about when I say mindset. And I know mindset is such a buzzword. And a lot of times people are like, it's think positive, it's mantras. And to me, it's whatever you need to think to get you to do what you need to do in your business. So, and part of my story is running a homeless shelter from 2007 to 2012. And in thinking like, I'm going to start this business and change the world. And then running into all of that mindset and subconscious programming and past experiences and trauma and burning myself out and having it not work and knowing it wasn't business strategies and steps, it was in my head. And so that's, where we need to do, I would say, the most work, obviously, because that's my little corner where I operate, but we need to do the work there, in order to take the actions we need to take. So
like you want to be a rebel in your business, but your mind is the anti-rebel, right?
Yeah. Your mind is like, let's hide.
Exactly. Well, it's so funny because that's why Pat's calling the Chicago thing the rebellion. It's because he's like, you have to stop doing things the same way. So yeah, I think that's amazing.
And the other thing is business owners get that. Like they're not hiding. They're doing that work, right? We're all doing this work all the time so that we aren't hiding and we are showing up and we're doing scary, courageous things all the time. So my favorite people.
Exactly. Okay. So this is a question I ask every one of my guests is, what does marketing mean to you? How would you define it?
I do, you've talked before about how people lump it in with sales and they don't really understand what it is. And, so for me, it's letting people know who you are and what you do and how you do it, like your personality and who you are, and just like being in front of people. So I don't know if that's your definition.
Well, yeah, because, and if you, I mean, poor Nikki, she probably heard me say this 20 times over the course of the past couple of years that I've known her, but it's like, know, like, trust is marketing, is business development, actually. Know you exist, like what you have to say, that's marketing. And to take you to sales, they have to like what you have to say and then trust you enough to buy. So know, KNOW, like, trust, that's the big thing. I talk about that all the time in the book, and I talk about that all the time in the podcast, because I want it like to like be burned into your skull about like this. If you think this way, marketing and sales becomes so much easier. Okay. So you touched on the definition of mindset. Is there anything you wanted to add to that? And maybe then transition into how mindset can affect your marketing?
Yeah, I looked up the definition, which ironically I have never done before. So I looked up the dictionary definition, and it says of mindset, it's the established attitudes held by someone. So that's really simple. And I was like, okay, let's look up attitudes, because to me, that's like where it is. So the definition of attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something reflected in behavior. So to me, it's how you think is going to influence how you feel, is going to influence how you behave.
I
And
think the word settled is very powerful in that that
yes,
definition too, right?
yes,
Oh, wow. That's cool. Okay. So how does that affect your marketing?
it's how it's your attitude and your feeling about marketing. So when you think of, okay, I'm going to put myself out there, I'm going to let people know me, they're going to know me. And then instantly it's like, are they going to like me? And we have that mixed up in this, and we like to think we can separate business and personal, but it's all the same. It's being confident in who we are and being okay putting ourselves out there. And so for a lot of people, then, the number one fear people have is like public speaking. Why? Because it's putting yourself out there. So you as the marketing person are saying, hey, put yourself out there. People want to hear what you have. And people are like, they might not like me. And so that becomes a mindset that's just constantly a friction. Like, we need to put ourselves out there, but what if people don't like me? What if I don't sound smart? What if I don't say it well enough? What if I don't explain it well enough? And so that's the rub that people are having it as far as mindset, then it's affecting their feelings. And if it feels yucky, like I don't want to put myself out there, I don't want people to reject me, what if they don't like me? Then I'm not going to take the actions to do it.
Yeah. And after being in business for a while, you get to the point, like, if they don't like me, I'm okay with that. Because in my opinion, what I teach people, I teach my clients is like, if they don't like you, don't try to make them like you, because then they're not your ideal client. Move on to the next person. I am not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm absolutely okay with that. And it took me a couple of years of being in business to be okay with that. And I'm really hoping that I can teach people quicker than having to spend a couple of years in that little pool of self-doubt, to get out of the water and just like go there and just be yourself and be amazing and move forward. So, okay. So that would prevent you from actually having a positive attitude about your mindset in marketing, because if you're not feeling confident about yourself, it's not going to come across in your marketing.
Right.
And so getting yourself in that positive space, getting yourself into that aspect of thing is really, really important. So what I always say is marketing is a mindset. And the reason I say that is if you're always in that mode of marketing, not selling, and we're not, Alec Baldwin, always be selling here. But if you're always presenting yourself in a marketing position, like anytime I'm on doing speaking events, not always on the collective, but like I'm wearing red, or I have the red thing in my hair, or like there's like a signifier. It took me a couple of years to get that. Hey, it's the Raebel red, right? When I do speaking events. So it's like, if you think about it, that every time you show up, it's marketing, and it's how you present yourself and how people perceive you and how you want to move, how you want to be perceived, then selling becomes easier because you've already done the marketing in everything that you do in a day. That includes showing up on time, being prepared for meetings, the greeting on your voicemail, how quickly you respond to emails. If you're going to be out of office, do you have an out of office on? I mean, it's like the littlest things in the world is still considered, in my opinion, your marketing. So marketing really is a mindset. Okay. I could keep going on and on about that, but it might be my show, but Cyrina's the guest. So, all right. Yeah. And the only other thing I was going to say about that is that if you think about marketing as a task or an expense, it puts it into that negative connotation. You want to get it out of the negative and think of it as positive.
And that's really the key with anything that is in resistance for you to put yourself out there to, think about I'm marketing all the time. That doesn't mean I'm selling all the time. People want what I have to sell. People want to hear what I have to say. Like anything that's rubbing against that or any friction around that, that's like where you need to dig in and do the work. And obviously it's, talking to somebody like you, it is experience, because when we first do start our businesses, we don't have that under our belt to know, like somebody is going to, buy from me. So it's okay if it takes time. I think that's the other thing. Are people like, I'm not confident, so I'm not doing a good job. It's like, just keep going. You'll get confident. So those are the things. Wherever there is hesitation to do it, procrastination, not taking action, hiding in any way, stop, pause, dig in and see what's going on there. And then make sure it is something positive and not negative.
Does that, Nikki and Cheryl, do you have that experience too? Do you see how, like, when you first started your business and to where you are now, have you seen a mindset shift in how you present yourself and who you do things with?
Huge. Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah. Nikki, you too?
Yeah, especially this year, because I've transitioned from me being the only teacher to being the owner more in the owner role and having a team. And so even the way I present what I do, who I am, what my business is, has been a major shift.
Excellent.
And I've had to practice to build confidence in speaking about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's yay.
I really like that point, that this is like, it takes time. It's a practice. It takes just, continuing to show up and fail and baby steps and, growing. And that's how it works. And it's never perfect, because what happens to all of us, which is wonderful about business owners, is we get to this point and then we get new ideas and we want to grow. And so we're going to have to deal with, okay, what does it look like to show up this big? What does it look like to show up this big? And it's always going to be a thing that we're working on.
Yeah. Cause we first started our businesses, right? We started our businesses and we're like, everybody needs what we have to sell. We started a business because we believe in our mission and everybody's going to want to buy this. And then they don't. And then it affects our mindset in the beginning. And so maybe somebody who's listening to the recording is still in that beginning phase. So, why don't you talk about like how to overcome that? Like if not everybody is on board and as excited as you are about starting a new business, like what does that do to that lack of motivation, maybe then that lack of confidence to go forward? So do you want to touch on that a little?
Mm-hmm. I think that what happens when we first start the business is like, yeah, we're so excited. Like, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to tell people and they're going to show up. And so what happens as we get into business is we learn about business and we learn like, oh, I'm not just going to like sell and put money in the bank. I have to have a bookkeeper. Like I have to do my books. And then we learn like, I'm not just going to show up and tell someone about this and everybody's going to buy. I have to do marketing. And it's like, we have to kind of, I say, put on your big girl panties and do these different parts of business. And you learn that marketing is an actual part of your business and a skill that you have to learn and a strategy. And it isn't as simple as like, just show up and people will buy. And I think we do get that a little bit in the beginning, like our friends and family are interested in our stuff, but then we learn like, okay, I've got to get serious about this marketing thing and this strategy in my business.
Yeah. And sales too is something that you need, because not everybody's a natural born salesperson, which I honestly don't believe there's such a thing, because sales and marketing is a skill like anything else, like bookkeeping. I took accounting in class in college, got a C. I have a bookkeeper, an accountant, I should say, because I suck at it. But people think that, and I love the way, I think Brent is the one who said this to me, is that like people have a marketing class in like high school or college and like, oh, I took marketing. I know what marketing is about. And then they go to like, the school of Google and YouTube and they read articles and they watch YouTube videos and think, oh, that must apply to me. That must apply to me. That that's got to apply to me because they're so convincing that this is what I need. And they don't kind of go, okay, let's step back and see what the strategy is and figure out like what's specific for me. And so people get overwhelmed. And then when they get overwhelmed, they just don't do it. So
Right.
to be able to learn those skills of sales and marketing, like what kind of mindset do you need to have to say, okay, I don't know this, and I'm going to go out and seek an expert to train me? Like, where do you need to get in your mindset to be able to accept something like that?
Yes, you need to say, I don't know this and I need help. I find most people do that after they have been banging their head against the wall or spent a lot of money or things just aren't working. And then they're like ready for help. But I think it's understanding that it is something that we need to learn, but also something we can learn, because what you're saying is people are like, oh, I'm just not a good salesman, and they give up. Oh, I'm just not good at marketing, or people just don't understand me, or I'm just weird or unique and I'm not, communicating in a way that people understand. And so it's the mindset you need is, instead of saying, I'm not good at sales or I'm not good at marketing, period, you say, I'm not good and I'm going to get help and I'm going to learn and I'm going to figure this out. And
Yet.
then
That's always what I
find the
say to my
resources.
kids. You're not good at it yet.
Yeah.
That's why you go to school. Like they'd be like, well, I don't understand this math or whatever it is. Well, you don't understand it yet, but that's why you go to school. And so like, I like adding that word to like, I don't know how to do this. And I always say yet, even to my customers.
Yeah.
These
It's
people are
important
clients.
because, it's important because a lot of times if we're doing something that's like, for me, therapy or healing or helping or, serving, sometimes we can dismiss it and be like, well, I don't want to be salesy in that industry, or I don't want to market. I just want to like help people, and that can cause us to not learn the skills and seek the help too. So I think it's important to know that there isn't any business that doesn't require that, but also to know, and you can speak to this a lot better than me, Lisa, that it can be done in a way that's authentic to you.
Yes.
And feels natural to you and isn't like somebody else's formula on you, like do this and email all these people or, knock on these doors or whatever. And I think of when we're looking at the word marketing, the market changes. Like, I think we're in a space right now where people are sick of the traditional 10-year-old way of selling, and so part of it is also continuing to learn, like, what are people responding to? What do people want? So it's just, in business, in any space in our lives, the best mindset is curiosity and being willing to learn. Like, that's the most important thing you need.
Yeah. And not make it so complicated. Like
Mhm.
we tend to make that, human beings love to make things more complicated than it actually is. So when I talk about the Raebel mindset, I always say that if marketing is simply storytelling, then selling is simply telling that story to other people. If you look at it in that simplistic form, it becomes a lot less scary. I can tell my story. Where some people get stuck is they don't know their story. So that's where you need to work on those types of things. But just telling people your story, which is how you're always like, that's how marketing is, the mindset. I'm just going to tell my story to other people. I'm not going to sell, but I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to show how I solve problems. And sometimes it's okay to take a pause. Now, I'm not saying don't market at all, but so like right now I'm kind of taking a pause on my business, and because I'm trying to figure out what the next version of Rebel Girl marketing looks like. But at the same time, I still put a podcast out every week. I still do social posts occasionally. I still show up at my networking stuff. I still do these types of things. I'm not stopping, even though I'm pausing getting new business in to kind of figure out what that next phase looks like. You still need to keep doing the marketing and do the stuff that you're comfortable with. But then once you get confident in doing the stuff you're comfortable with, that's when you take it to the next uncomfortable level, because growth comes in the uncomfort where you're uncomfortable. I'm not saying get up and, be a public speaker if you've never had a day of training in public speaking, or if you think you're going to get up there and throw up. That probably is not the best intention. So, but it's good to like figure out what your mindset is. And then where you feel scared, ask yourself why. Why am I scared? Am I scared because I think somebody else is going to judge me? And then do I really care if they judge me? That's what I always go. Do I really care if this person doesn't like me? And not in a mean way, like, after everybody, I'm going to be myself, but more like, then they're just not my ideal client. Oh,
Yeah, there's something that I talk about in my work, because I work with people with anxiety as part of the healing and the hypnotherapy that I do. And there's 3 kinds of anxiety, and I think they come into play here. So there's anxiety that happens when we're telling ourselves, like, everybody hates me, nobody likes me, nobody wants what I have. And that's the thing you need to sort out and tell yourself the truth. There is anxiety where you're doing too much, you're overwhelmed, and you need a nap and a sandwich, and your body is yelling at you. But there's also anxiety that's really, really good because you're doing something new that you've never done before. And your body's like, I don't know if this is going to work, and it's scary and it's unfamiliar. So when you can know that there's those different ones, we're always going to be leaning in our businesses into those areas of something new that I've never done before. Because, you know, for all of us, any of us who've ever done public speaking, the first time was scary and terrifying. And then you learn, oh, I can do this. Or you make a video as part of your marketing and it's scary. And then you learn, I can do this. So sorting through, like, is this anxiety because I'm telling myself everybody hates me and nobody likes me? Or is this anxiety because I'm exactly doing what I'm supposed to be doing to grow?
Yeah, I find that's funny. Does anybody, I'm not sure, Mickey might be too young, but there's a song, everybody hates me, nobody likes me, I'm going to go eat worms. Anybody remember that one?
Yeah.
I don't know why you said that. And I was like, all of a sudden that song is like
Yeah.
playing in my head. Might be
And-
hitting myself on that one.
That's funny. No, that was, yeah, totally know that song. The other thing you said that I think is really important that I find a lot of people do is they're like, I'm me and I'm hanging out with you and I'm talking to you. And then you say sales or marketing and I'm like, whoop, I have to be professional and I have to change my personality and I have to talk fancy, you know, and it becomes, and that's a mindset people have, that it has to be this certain way. And for me, the more my marketing and sales can just be me, you know, with you, the better. So that's
It
been
becomes fun then, instead of that
Yeah.
task, instead of that, like, oh my God, I got to be like perfect. It's not about perfect. Nobody likes perfect. Progress, not perfection.
Yeah. That's been a shift that I've had. I had a mindset that I had to be professional, you know, and when I talk to people casually, I'm not professional, really. I might say dumb things. I'm a little bit of a spaz sometimes, and I swear sometimes, and I had it in my mind, like, I need to like button that up when I talk to people, you know, about my business. So that's been a big mindset shift for me. That's been helpful.
So if you're listening and you think you have to be professional, stop it. Stop
Yeah.
it. Be yourself. They're not buying professionalism. They're buying you. They want to know who you are. So yeah, ever since I let go of that mask of like, I like doing all the marketing now for myself, because it's also just a lot more fun. Okay. You touched on it just a second ago, sales. People hear the words, they have to go sell something, and they do the same thing. They freeze up and go like, I can't sell anything. So are there any tips and tricks that you can like maybe give that would help somebody before they walk into the coffee shop or before they get on the Zoom call or they're on the phone, that they can tell themselves talking to a prospect that will help their mindset to be more relaxed and maybe progress the sale along further?
What I always have people do is remember, like, why do you do what you do, and how did it help you? Because at one point you were in the prospect's shoes, and you were looking for something like what you have. You were looking to learn that information or that skill, or you needed that help, or you needed that support, and to reconnect with you whenever that was, 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 5 months ago, and remember how good it was that someone shared that information with you. And the second is just your vision and your mission. Like, why are you here? Anytime you can get a bigger perspective and a bigger picture than just the person in front of you is helpful.
Yeah, because if you don't get the sale then, right? And you touched it a little earlier, is that, you know, all of a sudden, like, well, if they're not going to buy from me, nobody's going to buy from me, right? You get that weird mindset. So like, if you don't get the sale, how could you use mindset to help you keep moving forward and get over that supposed rejection?
It's similar to what you were saying about, you know, when you were first, it took you a couple of years in business to be comfortable with marketing. Like you have to keep going and learn that, like, just because this person said no doesn't mean that everybody's going to say no. There's a term in mindset called recency bias. And if one person says no, and then I go hide and I quit marketing and I quit selling, that experience is stuck. It's the latest one. So it's my reality right now. If somebody says no and I keep going and I go to another person and then I get a sale, then that gets put in the past, if that makes sense, instead of it being like this, failure or this disappointment. And then I stop there. That's the only thing that I'm able to see. So it's really about keeping going, and whatever you need to do to keep going. And for each of us, we need to figure that out. It may be calling a friend, or, having a mentor or a group. Crying is fine. Being like, oh, I just wanted this and I didn't get it, or going for a walk. But most importantly, like whatever you need to do, build yourself to keep going. And that's why I do tell people, remember your vision, because our vision is bigger than, that moment. But keeping going is the way that you get to somebody who does say yes, and then you have a great day.
Yeah. And no doesn't always mean no. That's what I like to
Right.
teach the salespeople that I work with. It's like, sometimes no just means not now.
Mm-hmm.
So marketing is about keeping in front of that person. So when the time is right, they think of you first. And so when you can still
Yes.
market to somebody who says no, because it just might not be the right timing, or they may not be the right person. But if you stay in front of them and somebody else needs what you have that you're selling, they're going to go, oh, I'm going to call Nikki because I know whatever that case might be. And so that's why it's really important to continue the marketing even after a no, because you never know when the right time is going to be, and you want them to think of you first when they do need what you have to sell. So no is sometimes just not now, because it's all about timing. It's all about their need. It's not about, okay, how do I say this nicely?
I say it's not about you.
Yeah, it's because in my head, it's not nice. It's not about you,
Not about you.
and the sale you need to make your quota. It's about their need, and if it's their timing. Because what I always say is, like, it might be your story, but it's the customer's journey. So you're selling your story, but it's still their journey, and the journey comes first before your story does. They want to know you can solve their problems in this marketing and sales process that we're talking about before they care about what degrees you have and what experience you have and what clients you've worked with and everything else. So even though it's your story, it's still their journey. Their journey comes first. Okay.
It's so
I
good.
can seriously get on so many soapboxes today. It's ridiculous.
Susan Trumpler she did some statistics, but most of the time people are not going to buy from you today. They're going to buy from you in the next 3 years. So marketing is Lisa's world or Cyrina's world. Where can they hang out and get value from you and get to know you and maybe communicate and hang out with you in that time where you still show up, and then they have an opportunity to buy later. And that's a really helpful mindset. And the other thing is, when we're talking about, so I'm going to just say it again, mindset is the established attitude held by someone. And attitude is a settled way of thinking or feeling about someone or something reflected in behavior. So what can happen in sales when our mindset is crappy and we kind of get desperate is I'm moving my hands to like grab at you. And we feel it when people are doing that. And if my mindset is I need this sale, or I'm garbage and my business is terrible and, nobody likes me, people are going to feel that. And if I'm grabbing toward you, you're naturally, even if you like me, you're naturally going to back up. And so we need to pay attention to, in the mindset, how we're feeling in those situations and do whatever we need to do to feel differently about it, which is exactly what you said. It's not a no forever. It's just a no right now. What can we do how can I keep these people in my orbit, in my sphere for 2 years or a year and a half or 3 years to continue giving them, value and showing up. And if you look at marketing that way, it takes a ton of pressure off, and then it can be fun. Like you're saying, that's what you help people do.
Yeah. Yeah, Nikki put in the chat about somebody who doesn't market. And one of the things Cyrina and I were talking about in a different conversation was that people get really frustrated that you might be better at what you do than the competition does, but the competition seems to be winning all the business, but the competition might be the one doing all the marketing. And so you have to realize that sometimes you lose business to somebody, not based on experience or like what, if you can do the job or not. Sometimes it's the perception aspect of things. So I'm going off a little off script here because I want you to picture this. Like you're out, the picture yourself going to buy a refrigerator and you have two different stores. They're the exact same model, pretty much the same price point, everything else, but you choose one over the other, right? Is it because the brand is because the store is more well-known, because they have a trust factor, because they do so much marketing? Is it because there's a perception there? But what is behind the perception? So anyway, that's why so the point to that, Nikki, you're right, is that sometimes people do more marketing and they win the business, or they don't do marketing and they're like, why isn't anybody buying from me? So do you want to do a quick share on that story?
Yeah. So this person contacted me on LinkedIn a year ago for interpreting services, for me to be a contractor with them. And I could not remember her name when somebody asked me recently, like, oh, I have something I need translated. I was wondering how much you charge for this. And I was like, oh, I don't do that anymore, but I have two people in mind for you. The one company is a company I worked with. Oddly enough, neither of these companies market at all. They must be really good with like their network and sales and referrals or something that they don't need to market in that industry. But I just thought that was interesting because I could not remember the lady's name. I had to go back in my LinkedIn and like search. I knew about when we connected, so I looked that way to find her name. But I was like, man, if she had been marketing, I would know her name, you know? If she had been marketing consistently, I would remember her name after a year. So just an interesting tidbit.
You just proved our point.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I do think it's not, the most talented people. It's just showing up,
Totally.
It's a combo, but showing up is magical. Like and we don't even know, like, I don't know how this works for you, Lisa, but I make a video, I get like 2 likes, and then I meet with someone and they're like, I loved your video, and they didn't like it, and understanding like it's just showing up. And the more you can do it without needing that instant, like somebody, the approval or the satisfaction, and like this is the long game, that really helps mindset.
Yeah. I used to say marketing is like a marathon that never ends, but people are like, oh. So we've decided to go for marketing is like taking a trip around the world, because everybody wants to take a trip around the world, right? Just because you get all the way around doesn't mean you can't go around again. So it's a better one than the whole marathon thing that everybody goes through. America, and like,
For sure. Well, and I
didn't mean it that negative, but like people are like, oh, a marathon that never ends. Don't say that.
I love that you mentioned that, because it's how we think and feel about it. So if there's any negative connotation, like my doctor said I can't run, so I shouldn't do marathons, so I shouldn't do marketing, like anything like that's negative. It's like, how can I look at this as a positive thing, an energizing thing, a fun thing where I get to be myself. I don't have to, turn myself inside out, and it doesn't have to be complicated. So that's the work of our education, is to learn how can it be, podcasts are so amazing for people that do them. I know, Nikki, you create videos, and it's like, how can we do the education to learn like how to streamline this, how to schedule this, how to make it easier. Those kind of things help you keep going. Yeah.
So on that point is the fact that I don't know about you, but I'm a huge Ted Lasso fan. Personally, sad it's over, moving on. But he always says, be a goldfish. And I think that's what happens when you get rejected in sales. Be a goldfish, be sad for like 10 seconds and then move on. Because if you dwell in it, when my husband was coaching volleyball and somebody missed a spike or they missed a serve, it's like, you got 5 seconds. You got 5 seconds to celebrate. If you block somebody or you got a point, you've got 5 seconds to be angry. That's it. because you got to move on to the step. And I'm not saying 5 seconds, but the point is that if you dwell in it, it's going to it's that 2 steps back and not the 2 steps forward.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Okay.
And-
So go on.
Well,
We're
part of the thing that helps you not dwell on it is to know it's normal. It's part of the process. You're going to have a certain amount of people that say no, a certain amount of people that say not right now. 30% of people will never work with you. Once you can do that, I looked up baseball and basketball statistics, like getting 50% of baskets is like professional, like NBA level. And you're like, that means they missed half. A lot of them, it's like 30%. It's really high. And if we can say, it's normal for a certain amount of people to say no, it's not personal, it's statistics. That's helpful too, to take away the, like, they don't like me, like, aspect of it. So
Yeah. And so, Cyrina has been very kind that do one of you have like one piece of mindset that might be holding you back, she can do a one-on-one coaching session with either of you, if either one of you are brave enough to volunteer and talk about something in mindset that might be holding you back, or something you have a question about mindset. Do either one of you have a question that she can coach you with?
I have one. It's not,
Okay.
maybe it's not marketing related though, but
Doesn't have to be.
we could put a spin on it if you want.
No,
But
it doesn't have to be.
my big problem right now is I have to do everything now and I have to get everything done. So how do I change that mindset so I slow down and just know, like, I have to go step by step. There's like tiny stepping stones, because I will get to that point of burnout if I don't slow down and have that feeling or that need to get everything done. The urgency, it's like all this urgency is like, oh my gosh. So yeah, that's my main mindset
I think we
problem.
all suffer from that at times. So that's a really, really good one. Thank you for asking that.
yeah, it's good. And I don't know about you, but like an idea in my head to fruition, like I want that as fast as possible. Like I don't want it to take a year or 3 months or whatever. So so when we're thinking about this, the way that we're thinking or feeling, and then that turns into our behavior, what are you thinking? What are you thinking about it when you're like,
I think it's financial. It's like, I want to have X amount of money in my bank account.
Yep. So I want to have this amount of money in my bank account. And that means I need to
do more things.
Yeah. And if I
market
don't,
more,
Yeah.
get more done on my to-do list.
and if I don't get it all done as fast as possible,
then I'm not going to get to my goal.
then
Yeah.
I'm not going to get to my goal. So it's really just kind of unraveling that and creating a statement that's true.
Okay.
So it's not true if I don't do everything right now that I'm going to run out of money. My mind is very dramatic and I'll be homeless and alone. And like, that's where my mind is.
I'm not thinking about being homeless, but I'm more thinking like, I feel stuck at a certain income level. And so, that's the main issue.
So I need to do all the things. And it's really burnout is our culture, but it's also this crazy trap, because you end up spinning your wheels. You end up wasting your precious time and energy, which ironically takes away from the energy, the creativity, the, being on, that's going to get you to that money. So if you can understand that burning yourself out is actually going to make the goal farther away, that's a really powerful thing to remember, that when I'm not rested, I'm not thinking as well, I'm not as creative, I'm not listening to myself as well. And so it's making the goal farther away. So it's important to tell yourself, like, when I have downtime, that's helping me get to my goal. And there's this aspect here of, I have this money goal. Somebody was saying, I don't know if it was Gary Vaynerchuk, like, we make these insane rules for ourselves and we kill ourselves because we just made them up out of thin air. we made up like money goals out of thin air, and then we beat ourselves up constantly to get there. So it may be you made that goal with all of the best intentions. It may need to be adjusted.
Mhm.
That's hard for our egos. And that's
Yeah.
hard. Like you may need to have a reality check. Like, is it doable? I
Mhm.
don't know. It may be completely doable, but people can burn themselves out because they've said, this is the way I talk about it when we build businesses. We build the foundation, then the first floor, second floor, third floor. When I ran the homeless shelter, I was like, third floor only. I want all that right now. And so I didn't have the foundation.
Yeah.
And so it crumbles.
Yeah.
So it's patience, like,
Yeah.
you know, that, and to dig into that and be like, okay, is this goal good? And let's say it's good. Then I
Mhm.
have to trust, I've got 6 more months. Like, how is that going to happen? If I'm assuming it's the end of the year, like, and just sit and ask, okay, how can I do this? What does this look like? Is what I'm doing now, can I do it the next 6 months? Is
Mhm.
this sustainable? Will I burn out? Because if you burn out in 4 months, because your body will just say no.
Yeah. Right. Right.
It sucks. Because-
What about, okay, so let's say if it's also, because this other thought came up while you're talking, like
Yes.
maybe it's not just money, but it's also like all these things on my plate that I want a sense of completion, like this is done, this is done, this is done. So I don't
Yes.
know if that's necessarily money related.
Yep.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah. Well,
Is it
and
the
as
same
business
thing?
owners, it's never done. So
Yeah.
another really powerful strategy is we are about goals and we are about the end result. But the
Mhm.
more
Mhm.
you can be in process and whatever process you're doing, like Lisa, I produce one podcast a week, right? And then that's a win. It didn't get you a client necessarily. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but that's something you have control over. Is it done or not? Some of these things that are done, it's going to be 6 months from now. And so if you're like I can't celebrate for 6 months, it gets exhausting. So what are the pieces of it over the next 6 months? Like, I'm doing this week toward that, and I can celebrate the piece of it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it, the mindset of entrepreneurs is like, it's that long game, and it's the celebrating the process of it, and also actually celebrating. Like,
Mhm.
how much have you done in the last 6 months?
I
Like,
know. I know.
you need to write it down, because
And
All right.
breathe.
Okay.
and I think we can swear. I think it's probably a shit ton. But
You're right.
we have our goal. We have
Yep.
our big goal of, the end of this year or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we're making this progress toward it that we're ignoring, because like, we're not there yet. We're not there
I
yet.
know.
And so all of this is your energy. When you're talking about burnout, it's managing your energy. And when
Yeah.
you can be like, and this, it's also this idea of scarcity. Maybe there won't be enough money, maybe there won't be enough time. You
Yeah.
need to, I'm spreading out, like, there's enough time for me, there's enough money.
Okay.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be taken care of. I can do this. Like, that's going to help too.
For
And
sure.
yeah,
And one of the things I'm going to reiterate is the fact that if you don't schedule time in your calendar, like literally these 2 hours, I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm just going to sit and meditate, or I'm going to go out to lunch and not think about work. Because to what she said was, the more clogged your brain is with like, I got it.
Yes.
You're not going to market well. Your conversations aren't going to be clear. Your messaging is not going to be clear. You're going to be taking any client to reach that goal instead of the right client to reach that goal, because the
It's true.
right client offers you less stress and more profitability. The bad client is more stress, more time, and less profitability. So the right client is what you have to strive for. So that I'm going to reiterate that 100 times, because it's so funny, because sometimes people look at me and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, thinking. I'm just sitting and thinking. There's no noise, there's no phone, there's nothing in my ears. I'm just sitting and thinking. My husband's like, what do you mean you're just sitting there thinking? I'm like, what do you think marketing is? Just like, it just pops into my head. No, yeah. Sometimes I have to sit and I just have to think.
Cheryl, I'm going to say something, but you mentioned the gap and the gain, and I would love to hear about that. I haven't read it, but so what I do for this, like recharging downtime, is I make that part of my process for me having longevity. Like this, day off or this nap helps me reach my long-term goals. So I've tied it in, because otherwise I always feel guilty whenever I rest. So I know, like, this helps my body be strong. My body is a vehicle that's carrying me towards success. This helps my mind be strong. If my mind isn't strong, I'm not going to get there. I have the actual visceral experience of my body burning out and needing to sleep for months because I pushed it so far. So this is like an easier one for me, but it really is a thing. And we live in this world where there's work 24/7 that you could do. So it's really important to build in. This is part of my success.
Anne Lamott is a woman who wrote the book Bird by Bird, which she's an author. And Bird by Bird is a great book too. And this was in my meditation the other day, and it said, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Great
I
quote,
posted that
great
on my
quote.
Facebook because I was like, this is so true. Because if you're constantly like busy, you're never going to have time to think about the creative and the innovation and the next steps. And again, if you're so focused on the goal and you're not focused on the right clients, you're literally bogging yourself down with the clients who are going to, again, raise your stress level, decrease your profit margin. And every night you're going to, every time they call, you're going to go, if your client calls and you go, ugh, like that, it's time to get rid of the client. Like if you look at the clients, the caller ID on your phone and you're like, well, crap, then get rid of the client. That's the wrong client for you. That's your telltale sign. Anyway. All right. We're running out of time. Again, mindset is something I love. I love mindset. I could talk about this all day, but I want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time and the people who are watching this time. So I'm going to ask you this question. When does it make sense to hire somebody like you, Cyrina, when it comes to the mindset and being able to move your business forward with mindset?
Yeah, I'm the person who I'm there for people who hear all this and go, I have no idea where to start and how to do this. I'm banging my head against the wall. I'm frustrated and I can't dig myself out of the hole myself. So that's that's a good place where people, you have an understanding of maybe what you should be doing, but you're just not able to do it, not able to regroup, not able to like see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's where I really help people. It's healing. We are our businesses, and whatever's going on kind of inside of us is reflected in our business. And often business will bring it up, old stuff or pains or things that need to be addressed. And so that's where I hang out with people, so we sort through that and resolve it. So then you can go where you need to go. I think most people listening can take this information and be like, yep, got that. But if someone is like, I actually can't do this by myself, then that's where I help and support people.
Yeah. If you're covering yourself in shoulds and to unshould yourself, stop shoulding on yourself, right? That's a good time to give her calls. Yeah.
And it's when you're not taking the actions. You're like, I have this vision, I have this goal, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, and I'm not taking the action, and I don't want to like get to the end of my life and be like, I wish I did that, Yeah.
So thank you, Cyrina, for all of your insights. I love talking to you. It's never a dull moment with our conversation. So I'm so happy that you came on my show, and the show. It's the IC show Soundline. So thanks for being Idea Collective members. I want to thank again our sponsors, Bank 59 and Quick Trip, for being sponsors. We don't know where we'd be without you. Love you guys. So again, July, taking a break. It's the 4th of July is when this program usually is recorded. So take a break, have some fun, watch some fireworks, float on something that has water underneath it. And we'll see you guys back in August. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you.